As she rounded a corner, Arya came face to face with one of the unknown life forms the computer had warned about. It was a creature unlike anything she'd ever seen, a chimera of insect and reptile, with iridescent scales and multiple compound eyes. The thing reared up on its hind legs, mandibles clicking in agitation. Arya's military training took over. She lunged forward, driving her makeshift weapon into the creature's thorax. It let out an unearthly shriek, thrashing wildly before collapsing in a heap. Greenish ichor oozed from the wound, eating through the metal floor like acid. "What the hell have you evolved into?" Arya muttered, giving the carcass a wide berth. She quickened her pace, knowing the creature's death throes might attract others of its kind. The journey to the control center was a gauntlet of environmental hazards and alien encounters. Arya navigated through sections of reversed gravity, narrowly avoided pools of corrosive liquid that had collected in the lower levels, and outsmarted more of the insectoid creatures that seemed to have made the facility their home. Finally, lungs burning and muscles aching, Arya reached the blast doors of the control center. She placed her hand on the biometric scanner, praying that 3,000 years hadn't degraded the system beyond use. For a heart-stopping moment, nothing happened. Then, with a groan of protesting metal, the doors began to slide open. The control center was a cathedral of dead screens and dormant consoles. Arya rushed to the central platform, her fingers flying over the ancient keyboards. One by one, the systems flickered to life, holographic displays filling the air around her. "Come on, GAI," Arya muttered, initiating the AI's startup sequence. "Wake up, old friend. I need you." The room hummed with growing power as GAIA, the facility's artificial intelligence, began to reboot. A flickering hologram materialized before Arya, a swirling galaxy of stars that coalesced into the form of a woman. "Captain Chin," GAIA's melodious voice filled the room. "It has been a very long time." "GAIA," Arya breathed a sigh of relief. "Status report. What happened? Why did we sleep for so long?" The AI's expression turned solemn. "I'm afraid the news is not good, Captain. The war. We lost." Arya felt as though she'd been punched in the gut. "Lost? How?" "We were winning when we went into stasis." "A miscalculation," GAIA explained. "The Galactic Council unveiled a weapon of unimaginable power. They used it to trigger our sun, causing a coronal mass ejection that devastated Earth's surface. To protect humanity, I was forced to keep you in stasis far longer than intended, waiting for the planet to recover." Arya's mind reeled as she processed the information. "And the rest of humanity? Our colonies?" GAIA's hologram flickered, a rare display of emotion crossing her digital features. "Unknown. All contact was lost in the immediate aftermath. Earth was placed under quarantine by the Council. We have been forgotten." A wave of anger washed over Arya. Forgotten. After everything humanity had achieved, everything they'd sacrificed. She clenched her fists, determination setting her jaw. "No," she said firmly. "We haven't been forgotten. We've been given a second chance." She turned to the control panel, bringing up the cryo chamber systems. GAIA, initiate emergency revival protocols for all viable subjects. We're waking everyone up. "Captain," GAIA cautioned, "the facility's systems are severely degraded. A mass awakening could be dangerous." Arya met the AI's gaze unflinchingly. "More dangerous than leaving them to die in their pods. We don't have a choice. Humanity needs every survivor we can get." As GAIA complied with the order, Arya brought up an external view of the facility on the main screen. What she saw took her breath away. The Earth above was a vibrant blue and green jewel, more lush and untamed than she'd ever seen it. But dotting the landscape were unmistakably alien structures, gleaming cities and impossible architecture that spoke of advanced civilizations. "GAIA," Arya asked, her voice barely a whisper, "what am I looking at?" The A's response was tinged with a mixture of awe and concern. "It appears, Captain, that in our absence, Earth has been transformed into a nature preserve and a tourist attraction for the galaxy at large." Aria's mind raced with the implications. They were outnumbered, outgunned, and hopelessly behind technologically. But they also had the element of surprise. No one in the galaxy knew that deep beneath the Earth's surface, humanity was awakening from its long slumber. A slow smile spread across Aria's face. "Well then," she said, cracking her knuckles, "I think it's time we gave the neighbors one hell of a welcome party." As alarms blared throughout the facility, signaling the mass revival of Earth's last, best hope, Captain Aria Chen steeled herself for the challenges ahead. The war wasn't over. In fact, for humanity, it was about to begin anew. Reclaiming the stars, the alien luxury cruiser Stellar Serenity glided silently through Earth's atmosphere, its iridescent hull shimmering in the sunlight. On board, beings from across the galaxy pressed their faces, or equivalent sensory organs, against the viewports, eager for a glimpse of the infamous quarantine world. "And here, esteemed guests," announced tour guide Zixtal, his tentacles rippling with excitement, "we have a perfect view of the human ruins. Observe the primitive structures, barely standing after 3 millennia of neglect." As the tourists oohed and awed, none noticed the 6 figures slipping out from a hidden cave entrance, using the cruiser's shadow as cover. Captain Aria Chen led her team across the rocky terrain, their adaptive camouflage suits blending seamlessly with the environment. Approaching target, Aria vocalized into her comm unit. "Dr. Emerson, status on the ship's systems." Dr. Lena Emerson, their tech specialist, tapped away at a holographic interface projected from her wrist. "I've gained access to their low-level systems. Life support, gravity controls, and docking mechanisms are all under our control, but I can't crack their main computer without physical access." Aria nodded. "Then we stick to the plan. Torres, Zhang, you're on crowd control. Kowalski, engine room. Emerson, you're with me on the bridge. And Rodriguez." Carmen Rodriguez, their combat specialist, grinned and patted the strange, organic-looking weapon at her hip. Yeah, I know. I'm on. Holy shit, what is that duty?" As the cruiser began its descent towards a designated landing zone, Aria's team made their move. They fired grappling hooks with near-silent pneumatic hisses, the molecular bonding tips adhering instantly to the ship's hull. In seconds, they were ascending, the ship's own gravitational field helping to pull them up. Once on board, they split up according to plan. Aria and Emerson made their way towards the bridge, using maintenance tunnels to avoid detection. As they crawled through the cramped spaces, Aria couldn't help but marvel at the alien technology surrounding them. "Incredible," Emerson whispered, running her hand along a pulsing conduit. "Their power distribution system is like nothing I've ever seen. It's almost alive." Aria gently pulled her hand back. "Stay focused, Doctor. We can study it all we want once we've taken the ship." They reached a junction near the bridge, and Aria peered out through a ventilation grate. The alien crew members were a dizzying array of forms and colors, some humanoid, others defying easy description. At the center of it all was a being that could only be the captain, a towering crystalline entity that seemed to shimmer with internal light. "That's going to be a problem," Aria muttered. She tapped her comm. "Rodriguez, we might need that holy shit option sooner than expected." "Music to my ears, Captain," came the reply. Moments later, alarms blared throughout the ship. Aria watched as the bridge erupted into chaos, crew members frantically reporting a Level 5 quarantine breach in the lower decks. The crystalline captain barked orders in a language that sounded like chiming bells, and most of the bridge crew hurried out to deal with the emergency. "Now," Aria commanded, kicking out the grate. She and Emerson burst onto the bridge, catching the remaining aliens by surprise. Aria's nanofilament whip lashed out, wrapping around the crystalline captain and delivering a targeted EMP burst. The alien shuddered, its glow dimming as it toppled over. Emerson sprinted to the main console, her fingers flying over the alien controls. "I'm in. Initiating lockdown protocols. And wait, what the hell?" Arya finished securing the unconscious bridge crew. "What is it?" "Captain, you need to see this," Emerson said, her voice filled with awe. Arya joined her at the console, and her eyes widened at the display. It showed a galactic map, but unlike any they had known before. Hundreds of worlds were highlighted, each bearing the unmistakable signature of human technology. "That's impossible," Arya breathed. "Our colonies were destroyed in the war." Emerson shook her head, still tapping away at the console. "Not destroyed. Hidden. According to this, humans have been scattered across the galaxy, most living in secret enclaves. The Galactic Council thinks they wiped us out. But we survived," Arya finished, a slow smile spreading across her face. "We adapted." Their comms crackled to life. "Captain," came Torres' voice, tight with tension, "we've got a problem. The passengers, they're not all tourists. Some of them are changing." Before Arya could respond, the ship rocked violently. Warning klaxons blared as the view screen showed a massive vessel decloaking directly above them. "Attention unidentified craft," a booming voice echoed through the ship's comm systems. "This is Grand Inquisitor Vordax of the Galactic Council. You have violated quarantine protocols and will be boarded. Prepare to be cleansed." Arya's mind raced. They were outgunned and trapped, with unknown hostiles both inside the ship and out. But they also had a ship full of alien civilians and a map to humanity's hidden worlds. The stakes had just gotten much, much higher. "Emerson, can you get us out of here?" Arya demanded. The doctor's hands were a blur over the controls. "Maybe, but we'd be flying blind. This ship's navigation system is tied into some kind of galactic network. Without access, we'd be lucky to make it out of the solar system." Arya gritted her teeth. "What about weapons?" "Minimal point defense systems. This is a tourist ship, not a warship." "Captain," Rodriguez's voice cut in. "You remember those genetic modifications JIA mentioned? I think I just found mine." Through the viewport, Arya watched in astonishment as Rodriguez leaped from an airlock, her body seeming to shimmer and grow. In seconds, she had transformed into a massive, winged creature that looked like a cross between a dragon and a starship. Rodriguez's creature latched onto the council ship, tearing into its hull with claws and teeth that seemed to ignite with plasma energy. "Holy shit," Arya whispered. "You said it, boss." Rodriguez's voice came through the comm, a mix of exhilaration and disbelief. "I don't know how long I can keep this up, but it sure is fun." Arya made a split-second decision. "Emerson, forget the nav system. Give me manual control and plot us a course out of the system using standard star charts. Torres, Zhang, get all civilians to the escape pods. Kowalski, I need every ounce of power you can give to the engines and shields." As her team scrambled to comply, Arya took the helm. The ship lurched forward, straining against the council vessel's tractor beams. Rodriguez's distraction had bought them a chance, however slim. "Hold on, everyone," Arya called out. "This is going to get rough." She pushed the engines to their limit, feeling the ship buck and shudder around her. The view screen blazed with weapons fire as they climbed through the atmosphere, Rodriguez providing cover as best she could in her new form. Just as it seemed they might break free, a blinding light filled the cabin. When it faded, Arya found herself staring at a swirling vortex of energy directly in their path. Captain." Emerson's voice was filled with equal parts fear and excitement. "I think I just figured out how their faster-than-light travel works. Turns out, this tourist trap has a wormhole generator." Arya's eyes widened. A functioning wormhole generator could change everything. With no time to second-guess, she made the call. "All hands, braced for wormhole transit. Rodriguez, Disengage and get back on board now." As the dragon-shaped form of Rodriguez streaked back towards the ship, Area aimed straight for the heart of the vortex. The stellar serenity shuddered, stretched, and then shot forward into the unknown, carrying with it humanity's hopes for reclaiming their place among the stars. In a flash of light and a twist of space-time, they were gone, leaving behind a very confused and angry Grand Inquisitor Vorax. The hunt for humanity had begun anew, but this time, the prey had teeth of its own. The Council's Dilemma. The grand nexus of the Galactic Council buzzed with frantic activity. Beings of all shapes and sizes hurried through its crystalline corridors, their urgent whispers creating a cacophony of alien languages. At the heart of this chaos sat Zixix, a lowly data clerk of the Arxer species, his 4 eyes widening as he processed the incoming reports. "This can't be right," Zixix muttered, his tentacles twitching nervously over his console. The screen before him showed clear evidence of a quarantine breach on Earth, but it was the details that made his heart race. Humans, alive, and now in possession of a Cord-class tourist vessel with wormhole capabilities. Zixix knew the official history. Humanity had been defeated 3 millennia ago, their threat to galactic stability eliminated. Earth was nothing more than a nature preserve now, a cautionary tale for younger species. But if these reports were accurate, his internal debate was cut short as alarms blared throughout the Nexus. Grand Inquisitor Vorax's face appeared on every screen, his bioluminescent scales pulsing with barely contained rage. "Attention all council members and staff," Vorax's voice boomed. "An emergency session has been called. Report to the Grand Chamber immediately." Zixix felt his stomach churn. As a mere clerk, he had never set foot in the Grand Chamber, but he knew something the others didn't. Taking a deep breath, he saved the data to a secure crystal and made his way to the chamber. The Grand Chamber was a marvel of cosmic architecture, its dome a perfect replica of the galactic core. Thousands of representatives from across the known universe sat in concentric rings, their combined knowledge and power unmatched in history. At the center stood Vorax, his imposing form dwarfing the other council members. "Esteemed colleagues," Vorax began, his voice carrying effortlessly through the vast space. "I come before you with grave news. The quarantine on Sol 3, the world once known as Earth, has been breached." A collective gasp rippled through the assembly. Vorax continued, his words measured but laced with venom. "A group of humans, long thought extinct, have stolen advanced technology and escaped into the galaxy at large. This represents a catastrophic failure of our security protocols and a dire threat to the peace we have maintained for millennia." Murmurs of disbelief and outrage filled the chamber. An avian being from the inner ring stood, her feathers bristling. "Impossible. We witnessed the fall of their civilization ourselves. How could they have survived?" "It appears," Vorax growled, "that our victory was not as complete as we believed. Preliminary reports suggest that dormant human enclaves may exist throughout the galaxy, hidden from our sensors." The chamber erupted into chaos. Accusations flew, alliances shifted, and more than a few representatives called for immediate military action. Amidst the uproar, a small voice cut through the din. "Wait," Zixix called out, surprising even himself with his boldness. "There's more to the story." All eyes turned to the diminutive clerk, many noticing him for the first time. Vorax's eyes narrowed dangerously. "Who are you to interrupt these proceedings?" Zixix swallowed hard but stood his ground. "I am Zixix, Data Clerk First Class, and I have information vital to this discussion." He held up the data crystal, which glowed faintly in the chamber's light. A ripple of curiosity passed through the assembly. The Supreme Arbiter, a being of pure energy contained within an ornate vessel, floated forward. "Speak, Clerk Zixix. The Council will hear your testimony." With shaking tentacles, Zixix inserted the crystal into a nearby console. The galactic map above the chamber shifted, highlighting hundreds of worlds in a distinctive pattern. These, Zix explained, his voice growing stronger, are the locations of suspected human enclaves. But they're not hidden, not really. We've known about them for centuries. We just didn't recognize them for what they were. He tapped a few commands, and the map zoomed in on one of the worlds. Take this planet, Novus Prime. It's been one of our most productive mining colonies for the past 500 years. But look at the geological data, the power signatures. They're unmistakably of human origin. The council members leaned in, their expressions a mix of shock and growing understanding. Zix continued, warming to his subject. It's the same story across the galaxy. Terraforming projects, deep space outposts, even some of our most advanced research facilities. All of them show signs of human influence. Preposterous. Vorax bellowed. Are you suggesting that humans have infiltrated the very fabric of our society? Zix shook his head. Not infiltrated, Inquisitor. Integrated. These enclaves aren't hidden bases. They're thriving communities working alongside other species, contributing to the galaxy's growth and stability. We've been benefiting from human ingenuity and adaptability for centuries without even realizing it. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. It was the avian representative who spoke first, her voice thoughtful. If what you say is true, Clerk, then we face a serious dilemma. These humans are not the savages we once fought. They've become an integral part of our galactic community. All the more reason to root them out. Vorax snarled. They've deceived us, wormed their way into positions of influence. Who knows what damage they might do? The Supreme Orator's vessel pulsed with light. Perhaps the deception was our own, Inquisitor. We told ourselves that humanity was defeated, too dangerous to be allowed a place among the stars. But it seems the universe had other plans. Debate raged for hours. Some council members called for immediate action, fearing human retaliation for past wrongs. Others advocated for a more measured approach, recognizing the potential benefits of open cooperation with humanity. As the session wore on, Zix found himself thrust into the heart of the discussion, his knowledge of the data making him an unexpected authority. It was a heady experience for the once overlooked clerk, but also a terrifying one. He knew that his words here could shape the fate of entire civilizations. Just as it seemed a consensus might be forming, the chamber's security alarms blared to life. The galactic map flickered and distorted, replaced by a face that sent shockwaves through the assembly. Captain Area Chen stared out at the council, her expression a mixture of determination and barely contained anger. Greetings, esteemed members of the Galactic Council. I apologize for the intrusion, but I believe it's time we had a long overdue conversation. Vorax leaped to his feet, scales flaring. How dare you? This is a secure. Area cut him off with a wave of her hand. Your security is impressive, Inquisitor, but humanity has had 3,000 years to study and improve upon your technology. Now I suggest you listen carefully, because I'm only going to say this once. The chamber fell silent, all attention riveted on the human captain's image. Area's eyes seemed to meet each council member's gaze simultaneously. We know what you did to Earth. We know how you've hunted us, how you've tried to erase us from history. But we're still here. We've survived, we've adapted, and we've thrived. She leaned forward, her voice low and intense. You have two choices. Continue this pointless war and face the full strength of a humanity that has spent millennia preparing for this moment. Or we can forge a new path together, one of true cooperation and mutual respect. The image flickered, and suddenly the map reappeared, but changed. Now it showed not just human enclaves, but a vast network of interconnected worlds and technologies, far beyond what the Council had believed possible. The choice is yours. Area's voice echoed through the chamber. But choose quickly. The universe is changing, with or without your approval. As the transmission cut off, the Grand Chamber erupted into pandemonium. Alliances shattered and reformed in moments. Accusations flew, and more than a few representatives found themselves reevaluating long-held beliefs. In the midst of the chaos, Six stood silent, his mind reeling. He had set out to uncover the truth about humanity, but he had never imagined this. As he watched the council grapple with the new reality, he couldn't help but wonder, was this the end of an era, or the beginning of something far greater? The Galactic Council faced its greatest dilemma in millennia, and somewhere out among the stars, humanity waited for their answer, ready to reclaim their place in the cosmos, one way or another. The battle for Sol. The void of space around Sol bristled with tension. On one side, the combined might of the Galactic Council's armada, thousands of ships representing dozens of species, their hulls gleaming with otherworldly alloys and weapons beyond human comprehension. On the other, a ragtag fleet of vessels, both familiar and alien, cobbled together from hidden caches and long-forgotten outposts. At the heart of the human fleet, the refitted luxury cruiser Stellar Serenity, now christened Hope's Vanguard, hung in space. On its bridge, Captain Area Chen stared out at the assemblage of forces, her face a mask of determination. "Status report," she barked, eyes never leaving the tactical display. Dr. Emerson's fingers danced over her console. "The Project Phoenix systems are online and sensed across all participating worlds. We're as ready as we'll ever be, Captain." Area nodded grimly. "And our secret weapon." As if on cue, Carmen Rodriguez's face appeared on a side screen, her eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. "Ready to raise some hell, Captain. Just say the word." "Let's hope it doesn't come to that," Area murmured. She took a deep breath, then opened a channel to the entire fleet. "All ships, this is Captain Chen. You know why we're here. For 3,000 years, we've hidden. We've adapted, we've survived. But no more. Today, we reclaim our home, our heritage, and our place among the stars. Whatever happens, know that every one of you carries the hopes and dreams of humanity. It's been an honor." Chen out. As the channel closed, a new transmission cut through the silence. Grand Inquisitor Vorax's face filled the main screen, his bioluminescent scales pulsing with barely contained rage. "This is your final warning, humans," he snarled. "Surrender now, and the Council may show mercy. Continue this foolish resistance, and we will be forced to cleanse this system as we should have done millennia ago." Area's eyes narrowed. "We've lived under your mercy for 3,000 years, Inquisitor. No more. This is our home, and we're taking it back." She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "Battle stations. All ships, execute Phoenix Protocol Alpha." Across the Sol system, dormant technology roared to life. On Mercury, massive solar collectors unfurled, channeling the sun's energy into ancient weapon systems. Venus's toxic atmosphere churned, revealing a network of orbital platforms. On Mars, the polar ice caps shimmered and dissolved, unveiling a planet-wide defense grid. Even Earth itself seemed to awaken. The nature preserves that had covered the planet for millennia rippled and changed, great structures rising from beneath forests and oceans. Humanity's last, best defense had been hiding in plain sight all along. Vorax's ship hung at the head of the Council Armada, his many eyes widening in disbelief. "Impossible," he breathed. Then, rage overtaking shock, he roared, "All ships, open fire. Destroy them all." The battle erupted in a dazzling display of destructive power. Council ships unleashed salvos of plasma and antimatter weaponry, while the human fleet responded with gravitational lances and temporal disruption fields. Space itself seemed to warp and twist as exotic energies collided. Aboard the Hope's Vanguard, Area and her crew fought with everything they had. "Evasive pattern Delta," she called out as a Council dreadnought bore down on them. "Emerson, status on the Phoenix network." "Holding steady, Captain." Emerson replied, her voice strained. "But the Council's trying to brute force their way through our firewalls. I don't know how long we can." Her words were cut off as the ship rocked violently. Sparks flew from overloading consoles, and warning klaxons blared. "Direct hit to our port side." The tactical officer shouted. Shields down to 30%. Arya gritted her teeth. Reroute all non-essential power to shields and weapons. We need to buy more time for the Phoenix systems to fully activate. As the battle raged on, it became clear that despite their advanced technology, the human forces were outnumbered and outgunned. Council ships pressed their advantage, slowly but surely pushing back the defenders. Captain, Emerson called out, her voice tight with worry. We're losing ground. The Council's breaking through our lines. At this rate, they'll be in range to bombard Earth within the hour. Arya's mind raced. They had one last card to play. But the risks were enormous. She opened a secure channel. Rodriguez, it's time. Show them what humanity's really capable of. About damn time, came the reply, tinged with both excitement and apprehension. Outside the ship, a small craft detached from the Hope's vanguard. It streaked towards the heart of the Council fleet, dodging weapons fire with impossible agility. As it neared Vorax's flagship, the craft seemed to shimmer and change. In its place was Carmen Rodriguez, but not as anyone had seen her before. Her body had grown to titanic proportions, a fusion of flesh, metal, and energy. Great wings of crystalline solar panels unfurled, while her arms morphed into weapon systems that defied easy description. Holy shit, Emerson breathed, watching the transformation on the main screen. The Rodriguez creature latched onto Vorax's flagship, tearing into its hull with claws that ignited with plasma energy. Council ships scrambled to respond, but their weapons seemed to pass right through her altered form. Vorax's panicked voice cut through the comm channels. What is this abomination? All ships, concentrate fire. But it was too late. Rodriguez had breached the flagship's main reactor. With a final, feral grin, she unleashed the full power of her transformed body. A blinding light engulfed both Rodriguez and the flagship, expanding outward in a shockwave of unimaginable energy. When the light faded, a massive hole had been torn in the Council's formation. Dozens of ships drifted powerless, their systems overloaded by the blast. At the center of the destruction floated Rodriguez, her body slowly shrinking back to human form, encased in a shimmering energy field. Rodriguez, Arya called out. Status report. A weak chuckle came through the comms. Remind me, never to do that again, Captain. But it worked. Their fleet is in chaos. Arya allowed herself a small smile. Emerson, get her back on board. All ships, this is our chance. Push forward. The tide of battle turned. With the Council fleet in disarray, the human forces pressed their advantage. The Phoenix systems came fully online, revealing weaponry and defensive capabilities that had been honed over millennia of secret development. Pluto, long thought to be nothing more than a dwarf planet, revealed its true nature. The entire planetoid began to move, its surface breaking apart to unveil a massive space station, humanity's ultimate failsafe. Beams of concentrated energy lanced out from its core, cutting through Council ships with terrifying precision. In the midst of the chaos, a new transmission cut through the battle chatter. It was Zixix, the Council clerk who had first uncovered the truth about humanity's survival. Captain Chen, he said, his voice urgent, I speak for a growing faction within the Council. We want to negotiate. This war, it's madness. There's been too much destruction already. Arya hesitated, her tactical instincts warring with the hope for a peaceful resolution. And Vorax, the hardliners? Zixix's many eyes blinked rapidly. Vorax is dead. His flagship, when your soldier, we've never seen anything like it. Please, Captain, let's end this before there's nothing left of either of us. For a long moment, Arya stood silent, the weight of humanity's future heavy on her shoulders. Then, slowly, she nodded. Very well, let's talk. As the order to cease fire spread across both fleets, an uneasy quiet fell over the battlefield. Ships from both sides hung in space, battered and wary. The Sol system, humanity's long-lost home, had once again bore witness to a pivotal moment in galactic history. Arya stared out at the star-strewn void, Earth's blue marble visible in the distance. They had fought their way home, but the real challenge was just beginning. Somehow, they had to forge a lasting peace with the very beings who had once sought their extinction. As she prepared to meet with the council representatives, Arya couldn't help but smile. After 3,000 years, humanity had finally reclaimed its place among the stars. Whatever came next, they would face it together, as they always had. The battle for Sol was over. The future of the galaxy hung in the balance, and humanity, against all odds, would have a say in shaping it. Humanity's triumph. The Nexus, heart of the Galactic Council's power, hummed with an energy unlike anything in its long history. In the Grand Chamber, where the fate of civilizations had been decided for millennia, representatives from across the cosmos gathered. But today, all eyes were on the small delegation making their way to the center of the room. Captain Arya Chen led the human contingent, her steps measured and confident. Behind her walked Dr. Lena Emerson, their tech specialist, and a still recuperating Carmen Rodriguez, whose recent transformation had left her with a faint otherworldly glow. Rounding out the group was Zixix, the Orcs clerk whose revelation had changed everything. As they reached the central platform, the Supreme Arbiter's vessel pulsed with light. Captain Chen, the energy being's voice resonated through the chamber. You stand before the assembled representatives of the Galactic Council. Your actions have shaken the very foundations of our civilization. What do you seek? Arya's gaze swept the room, taking in the myriad of alien faces, some curious, others hostile, many simply afraid. What we've always sought, she replied, her voice clear and unwavering. A place among the stars. Not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals. A murmur rippled through the assembly. An avian being, her feathers bristling, stepped forward. Equals. You've hidden among us for millennia, infiltrating our societies, stealing our technologies. How can we trust anything you say? Stolen. Dr. Emerson interjected, her eyes flashing. We've contributed more to galactic progress in the last 3,000 years than you realize. Who do you think developed the terraforming techniques that transformed Novus Prime from a barren rock to your most productive agricultural world? Before the avian could respond, a crystalline entity chimed in, its facets shimmering with agitation. And what of the battle we just witnessed? The weapons you unleash. They're unlike anything we've seen. How long have you been preparing for war? Arya held up a hand, her expression solemn. We've prepared for 3,000 years, yes, but not for war, for survival. Everything you saw, from Project Phoenix to the transformation abilities some of us have developed, it was all meant to ensure that humanity would never again face extinction. She gestured to Rodriguez, who stepped forward, still slightly unsteady. What you saw wasn't a weapon, Carmen explained, her voice hoarse. It's evolution, adaptation. In the centuries we spent hidden, cut off from our homeworld, we changed, some of us more than others. The chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. It was Zixix who broke the tension, his many eyes blinking rapidly as he addressed the council. Esteemed colleagues, I've spent the last several cycles studying the data we've gathered. The humans aren't lying. Their contributions to our society are undeniable. The Cordman drive that powers our fastest ships, based on human theoretical work. The neural interfaces we use for instant communication, refined from human biotech. The Supreme Arbiter's vessel pulsed thoughtfully. If what you say is true, then we have much to reconsider. But the fact remains, Captain Chen, that your people have operated in secret for millennia. How can we be certain that you don't harbor plans for revenge or domination? Arya smiled, a hint of sadness in her eyes. Because we remember, Arbiter. We remember what it was like to stand on the brink of annihilation. We remember the cost of war, the pain of loss. We've carried that memory for 3,000 years, and it's shaped everything we've done. She tapped a command on her wrist device, and a holographic display sprang to life in the center of the chamber. It showed a tapestry of worlds and cultures, human and alien alike, intertwined in a complex dance of cooperation and mutual growth. "This is what we've been building towards," Arya explained. "Not an empire, not a weapon, but a future. A galaxy where every species can thrive, where our differences make us stronger, not divide us." The display shifted, zooming in on Earth. The planet's surface was a blend of restored natural beauty and gleaming cities that seemed to grow organically from the landscape. "We don't want to conquer the stars," Arya continued. "We want to explore them, to learn and grow alongside you. Yes, we hid. Yes, we prepared for the worst. But now we're here, standing before you openly, asking for a chance to build something greater than any of us could achieve alone." The chamber erupted into discussion, representatives debating furiously among themselves. The Supreme Arbiter's vessel glowed brightly, commanding silence. "You speak of cooperation, Captain, but surely you realize that trust will not come easily. What assurances can you offer?" Dr. Emerson stepped forward, holding up a small crystalline device. "This contains the complete schematics for Project Phoenix, including the planetary defense systems and the Pluto station. We're prepared to share this technology with the Council, to be used for the defense of all our worlds." A gasp rippled through the assembly. The avian representative's feathers stood on end. "You would give us your greatest weapons." "Why?" "Because they're not weapons," Emerson replied. "They're shields. Protections against threats we may not even be aware of yet. The galaxy is vast, and we've all been so focused on our internal conflicts that we've ignored the greater dangers that might be lurking in the dark between the stars." Zix chittered excitedly. "Imagine what we could achieve if we combined this technology with the Council's resources. We could extend our reach further than ever before, explore regions of space we've only dreamed of." The excitement was palpable, but the crystalline entity chimed in once more, its tone cautious. "And what of your hidden enclaves? The human population scattered throughout our territories?" Arya nodded, having anticipated this question. "We propose integration. No more hiding, no more secrets. Let our people work openly alongside yours, sharing knowledge and culture. We've lived as your neighbors for centuries. Now let us be your partners." As the council debated, Carmen Rodriguez caught Arya's eye. "Think they'll go for it, Captain?" Arya watched the ebb and flow of the discussions, alliances forming and reforming before her eyes. "They don't have much choice. We've shown them that conflict isn't the answer. Now we have to show them that cooperation is the only way forward." Hours passed as the negotiations continued. Proposals were made and discarded, compromises reached and refined. Through it all, the human delegation stood firm, guided by Arya's unwavering vision of a united future. Finally, the Supreme Arbiter called for order. The chamber fell silent as the energy being's vessel rose to address the assembly. After much deliberation, the Arbiter's voice resonated. "The Galactic Council has reached a decision. The species known as humanity will be granted full membership within the Council, with all the rights and responsibilities that entails." A cheer went up from many of the representatives, while others remained cautiously optimistic. The Arbiter continued, "Furthermore, a new initiative will be launched, the Galactic Cooperation and Exploration Directive. This program will combine human innovation with Council resources to push the boundaries of our understood universe." Arya felt a weight lift from her shoulders, one she hadn't even realized she'd been carrying. They had done it. Humanity had not only survived, but had found a way to thrive among the stars. As the chamber buzzed with excitement, Zix approached the human delegation, his tentacles twitching with barely contained enthusiasm. "Captain Chen, Dr. Emerson, I believe this is the beginning of a new era for all of us. There's so much to learn, so much to explore." Arya smiled, extending her hand in the universal gesture of friendship. "Indeed it is, Zix, and we'll face it together, as equals." As the formalities concluded and the council session adjourned, Aria and her team made their way back to the Hope's vanguard. The ship's view screen showed the glittering expanse of the galaxy, filled with more promise than ever before. "Where to now, Captain?" Rodriguez asked, a hint of her old mischief returning to her eyes. Aria gazed out at the star-filled void, a universe of possibilities stretching out before them. "Everywhere, Carmen. We're going everywhere." As the Hope's vanguard disengaged from the Nexus, preparing to journey into the unknown, Aria couldn't help but feel a sense of pride. Humanity had faced extinction, endured millennia of hiding, and emerged not just victorious, but triumphant in a way their ancestors could scarcely have imagined. They had reclaimed their place among the stars, not through conquest or subjugation, but through perseverance, adaptability, and an unwavering belief in a better future. As the ship's engines hummed to life, Aria knew that the greatest adventure was just beginning. Humanity's triumph was not an ending, but a new beginning. For them, for the Council, and for the entire galaxy. The stars beckoned, and this time they would face the unknown united, ready to write the next chapter in the grand cosmic story together.